Hey, lunch with Jim and A.Ron.
Did you miss him? Did you miss him when he was gone last week?
I think they did. I think they missed both of us. Yeah, we did not announce this, but last time I was out of town. We had some scheduling issues.
It's an oversight.
Yeah, we should have at least told you guys we weren't going to do a lunch with Jim and A.Ron, but we're back.
We're shiftless drifters.
Yeah.
Can't be hassled for keep schedules, man.
Roaming the country. You know, we're movers and shakers now in this podcasting industry.
Yeah. We're getting interviewed by a local news station.
Oh,
Wednesday.
God. We are movers and shakers.
We are.
Oh, no.
WCPO is...
This is not how I wanted this to go.
WCPO is coming out to our studios to do a little piece on the podcasting industry and us being a local story. So that'll be fun. Okay. I don't know if that will ever be released or if anything will come of it, but what the hell? Seems like a fun idea.
Sure, why not?
If I had a grandma still alive, they'd be so proud that I was on local news.
It's the only way they'd ever hear any of your stuff.
Yeah, right. Plus, it's like, you know, they'll be censored, so they won't be offended by my language. I can't even imagine. Like, I don't really push my podcast on friends and family because, you know, for obvious reasons.
Because you're not proud of it?
No, it's not that I'm not proud of it, but like most of my aunts and uncles and stuff like that just don't watch the golden age of television.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's one of those deals.
Sure.
Even my dad never listened to these podcasts.
No, my family and friends don't listen either.
So what are we going to talk about this week other than our impending media?
Well, I have a couple of things.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah, speaking of the golden age of television.
Before you start, I just want to let everybody know that I did remember to turn the Q&A app on. So if you want to queue stuff up, we will.
Oh my god!
It's
already
begun.
happening.
All right, we'll get to those in a minute. You continue.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about this golden age of television. When we started podcasting, you know, this golden age was just starting. And, you know, people were starting at that point to coin the term golden age of television for stuff like Breaking Bad and Mad Men and Lost and things like that. Sopranos, all that stuff. And at this point, we are firmly entrenched in what people are still referring to as the golden age of television. So much so that I feel like all of the TV, to a large extent, I mean, yeah, there are exceptions, but almost all of it across the board is really, really good.
Sure.
Like, I'm discounting a bunch of reality shit and a bunch of like really bad superhero stuff,
right?
Stuff like that. But when you talk about like how many really good shows there are, there's never been more. And like I'm struggling to even keep up with knowing all of the good stuff that's coming out, let alone watching it all.
Yeah.
And like, you know, Netflix getting into this game has certainly not helped that. They've just been like, they've put out 15 shows now at this point, which, you know, are all of pretty standardly good quality.
Then you got the Amazon stuff.
Yeah, you got Amazon, you got HBO still cranking out 1,000 shows a year.
Hulu's making a whole bunch of really niche-y crap.
I've never watched a Hulu show.
I haven't either. No? Well, no, that's not true. That's not true. I watched the Real Housewives of Orlando, which was the mock version of the other show, which was really actually quite well done and funny.
All right.
And of course, Sailor Moon Crystal.
But I mean, even when you look at stuff like, I don't know, Halt and Catch Fire, which you didn't like very much.
Nah.
I finished watching that.
Oh, did you?
Over the last few weeks.
What'd you think?
I thought it was better at the end.
Okay.
Much better at the end. Once they got away from, you know, drama for drama's sake, like Joe coming in and just stirring the pot because he's an asshole and wants to stir things up. But I felt like it got a lot stronger.
So I talked to a friend of the show, Daniel, about it because he was a big fan throughout. And he said the climax ends up Joe just setting the whole version 1 of the product on fire.
Well, so they've got 100,000 on order. He sets a single truck of computers on fire.
Okay. But isn't that him?
I mean, that's not the whole production run.
Okay. Well, he made it sound like
it's like 100 computers.
Okay.
No, they got a batch in for like bug testing.
Yeah.
Just to do some Q&A before it went to market.
Okay.
And those are the ones he burned.
Oh, so it's at least a list. So what is his deal? He's unsatisfied with the product?
I feel like he's.
Did they get a handle built into it?
It might have. I don't remember. The handle kind of went away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that was just a suggestion that was crazy. Like the GameCube. My understanding of that is he's battling with his own inner demons. It's not that like he hated the product or anything. He just couldn't handle what it had done to him and Cameron as far as the relationship goes.
Okay.
And the questions it made him think about as far as his own personality and what he's doing and why he's doing it and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. It really got better at the end, I thought.
All right.
So
I don't know, you
but
in for season 2?
I think I am. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
But that's, that's kind of far from my point. I also watched Bloodline, which is another really, really solid show.
Yeah.
Great acting across the board. And there are some clunky things about it. Like I don't particularly like the narration, but I do like how they jump around in time a little bit.
What is that? So what's this? Give me a 30-second summary, because I've seen the trailers and it seems like it's a wealthy family with everyone having kind of like some hidden deep, dark secret.
Yeah.
And they're somehow stuck on a fantasy island. That's what it looks like.
It's not a fantasy island. So they own a beach resort. Is
all right.
What it is.
Is there a dwarf that's primary job is to spot planes? No.
No.
Okay.
No dwarves.
All right. No Wrath of Khan looking guys stalking the place.
No.
All right.
None of that stuff. It's firmly rooted.
Does anyone wear an ice cream suit?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Fantasy Island.
I think the dad in the show wears an ice cream suit at one point, maybe during a wedding or during a celebration rather.
Okay.
Anyway, it's basically about this family who is kind of torn apart by an event in the past that happened between specifically the father and the oldest brother.
Yeah.
I won't get into it because it's very spoilery, and they kind of unveil what happened over the course of the season. I'm only like 6 episodes in, so I haven't seen it all. But what I have seen is really good, and they deal with a lot of drama in some pretty, realistic ways. I think the family tension in that is pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know, and a little bit of it is over the top, and the narration I could have done without, but that's another excellent show. I mean, there's just like Lilyhammer's on and Broadchurch and like just all these shows that are, have these good reputations.
Plus everything going on.
How do you watch it all
on the BBC where I just
there's a lot of good stuff. Black Mirror and
Penny Dreadful just started back up.
Penny Dreadful, like so many shows. How do you keep up with it? Like I almost feel like it's impossible to choose what you watch because all of it is so uniformly good now.
I guess you have to go. I mean, that's a good question. It's something that, I feel that more with movies because I feel like I watch pretty much everything that I want to watch.
But movies are such a low investment, right? Like 2 hours of your time, boom, you're done. You've seen the movie. You could easily watch all of the big movies that come out in a week.
It is possible, but on the other hand, if you're like trying to see them before like Oscar season comes out or whatever, it starts to get challenging because they kind of cluster up.
They do.
Like the big summer blockbusters all drop within 4 weeks.
And so do TV shows.
And then yeah. So I've always felt that with and I don't know, like going out and see a movie is an order of magnitude more of a commitment than just flipping on something on Netflix or whatever. So I'm factoring that in, going and getting the ticket and braving the crowds and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I solved the problem just by watching a shitload of television. Like
that's the thing. Like I don't want, like, despite the profession that I'm in or whatever you would call this, the hobby / whatever. I find myself not wanting to make TV my entire life.
Yeah,
because I feel like that's a hole that is just never ending.
Yeah,
like you set out to watch all the TV, your life's over. You're done.
Sure.
Because all of the TV has already been made, and all of the TV is going to continue to be made, and you will never catch up.
Yeah, no, I mean I feel that acutely because I've been wanting to get, I got caught up on a lot of things over the Christmas break, and then like I polished off the first 2 seasons Americans, and I watched a whole bunch of other stuff, and I was really looking forward to get back to Deadwood because I've had one more fucking season of Deadwood to do for like 2 years, and I just never get around to it. Like it's only like a 10-hour commitment, but between, I thought I'd have more time now, but like this spoiler cast is taking a lot of my time up. Yeah, no, I mean, I feel you. It's like, it's weird because I always felt like, you know, there's every once in a while there'll be a good show like Firefly that slips through the cracks, and you'd have a Critical Dark or like Arrested Development the same way, where it's like it just barely scraped by and it got canceled probably too early. But by and large, you know, if there was a good show, it became successful because everybody found it. Now everything's so nichey that I do worry about that I'm like missing out on things that I don't even know about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how you solve that problem.
I don't know. I'm trying to come to a balanced,
especially
TV viewing,
because I'm always asking also, you know, how does this fit in with the bald move aspect of it? Because you know,
that complicates it.
We've talked about this a lot, but watching something just purely to enjoy it as a fan is a much different experience than watching something and then thinking, what am I going to say about it?
Yeah.
Like, you know, Downton Abbey is a much more fun experience for me because I don't give a shit. Like, I don't think about like what I need to say or whatever. I just watch it, and then I listen to Tom and Kelly's podcast, and it's like, hey, I understand why people do this now. It's kind of fun. So there's a lot of things like, it was fun watching Daredevil. It was fun watching Banshee.
Yeah, Daredevil.
Without having to think about like what I'm going to say about this week. And, you know, if I didn't have time to do a deep dive on Reddit, oh well, I'll catch it eventually. So yeah, I don't know. And especially when you're dealing with the reality is that we only really have a schedule for 3 or 4. 4 would be is too many. 3 is like borderline shows to cover each week. It's only going to get worse. Now, are you worried about the other direction where us losing Breaking Bad and Mad Men, and you know, other shows that have gone? I'm trying to think of ones that have been canceled. But are you worried that some of these shows are going to be kind of irreplaceable?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as you know, someone who does this for their living, I'm looking at the numbers and I'm saying, well, none of our other shows are as big as Walking Dead or Game of Thrones.
Sure.
Breaking Bad was one, but it's gone.
And Game of Thrones has got probably 2, max 3 seasons left to it.
Better Call Saul could be a replacement for Breaking Bad.
I think it will be.
Numbers wise, it looks like it's trending there,
sure.
But who knows? Who knows?
Right.
But yeah, that totally concerns me as someone who depends on this for food.
Yeah. Yeah, especially since we're trying to do like what we like and also what is kind of the best of the best. And you know, I guess there's a lot of really good shows, but like, I don't know about really excellent shows right now. Like the Breaking Bads and Mad Men's, you know, and some of the stuff like True Detective and Fargo are kind of standalone. So one season being good is no guarantee of a season 2 being really good. In fact, we were watching a lot of bonus materials on True Detective because we're gearing up for True Detective coverage, and I kept on thinking about, you know, Nick Pizzolatto or whatever his name is, and how he was from that region of Louisiana, and he had spent years thinking about this and polishing it and writing it, and like it came in and thinking about these characters and just how important it was, and how they're talking this whole time about how important it was that him and Cary Fukunaga were able to like craft this thing together as a unit. And none of that's true about season 2 of True Detective. And I'm thinking, I was like, okay, so this is set in LA. You've got a different director for the first 2 that you do for the back 6. I don't even know if there's just one for the back 6. And I think like, you know, why did they change that? And why are they upsetting the apple cart? Stuff like that is like, you know, in The Leftovers. Well, the first season was really good and it followed the book fairly closely. What is season 2 going to look like? And you know, how shitty will it be the back half of 2015 if we're shackled to 3 shows that have gone to seed?
No,
you know, it's like, that's definitely something to worry about.
Yeah, I just wonder about it from like a life balance perspective, you know, like not necessarily from like a podcaster's perspective, but like normal people who aren't crazy like us probably watch a show.
I think you're wrong.
2
I
shows?
think I think the average person watches a hell of a lot of television.
I don't know about that.
I mean, like 10 years ago, it was like 4.5, 5 hours a day was the average.
for real normal people.
Yeah, yeah.
People who function in life.
Yeah.
4 or 5 hours a day.
Now, a lot of that's been replaced by video games and the internet, but it's still passive consumption of media. That's what people do.
Well, okay. So there's watching TV and there's watching TV, right? Like, I sometimes watch TV without actually watching TV.
Sure.
Like, I'll turn something on, let it sit in the background while I'm doing something else, which is super inefficient. I've tried to stop doing that lately, which means I'm going to be watching less TV, but I'm going to be paying more attention to the TV I do watch.
Sure.
I wonder how much of that is just like, 4 to 5 hours of the day the TV is on in a house. Like, you know, they've got kids who are watching TV as they're preparing dinner, as their parents are preparing dinner,
a lot of that,
or
but I'm just
shit
saying
like that. And
there's
they count,
still
whole household watching, sitting around the television, celebrating the art of film making and cinematography around TVs.
It's interesting. Let's see.
I can't imagine that any normal person with a family has time to watch 4 to 4. Like, when your kid is
You're not normal, nor do you have a family. You should recuse yourself from this argument.
No. That's what I'm saying. I'm counting myself as an exception here.
Oh, okay.
But when your kid is in town, you don't watch 4 to 5 hours of TV a day. You play a bunch of video games. You're outside. You're doing stuff.
Sure.
You're going out and seeing things. Like, there's no way you're watching 4 to 5 hours of TV if you have a kid.
I'm gonna see, because that is one thing we asked on the survey, and I'm just wondering what.
I feel like our listeners are exceptions as well, you know? But like, they're the people who are really invested in TV.
Sure. But I'm just saying that, like, you know, how many hours of television on average do we watch per week? 35% of Bald Move participants in this survey watch 10 plus hours a week. 33% watch 6 to 9. And 28% does 3 to 5. Only 4% say they watch 1 to 2 hours of television a week. I mean, I'm in the 10 plus category, because that's
wait, are you saying 4 to 5 hours a week or 4 to 5 hours a day, night?
Week.
Oh, okay. That's way less. Okay.
Sure.
I thought you were saying 4 to 5 hours a day.
It's 10 plus. Like, the bulk of people watch more than 10 hours of television per week.
You could do that in one weekend day.
Sure. Yeah, like I'm
take a lazy Sunday and boom, there's your 10 hours.
I imagine I watch 20 hours of television a week. I mean,
yeah, I easily do, but
a third of that,
like I said, I'm only half watching.
A third of that is just like Bald Move television watching, and then like, you know, I've been watching 2 to 3 episodes of Always Sunny, because I haven't seen any of that, and you keep talking it up. My girlfriend keeps talking it up, so I started watching it. And that's really good. And, like, you know, I just watched the last 2 episodes of Penny Dreadful to get myself ready for this year's Penny Dreadful. It's stuff like that adds up. I don't know.
Yeah, it does.
But no, I think you're underestimating how much people watch television.
I was overestimating how much TV you were talking about there. All right. I mean, maybe so. That seems crazy to me, though.
Yeah.
Like, someone who isn't actively involved in the communities around TV, watching that much television.
It's weird because when I started off in the golden age of televisions 5-6 years ago, I hardly watched television at all. And I'd, you know, as a former witness, you just don't watch a lot of popular television. And, you know, when I left that, I didn't have a nice TV. I didn't have cable. So I watched a lot of movies and I played video games, and mostly I just went out and did stuff. You know, I was a lot more active. I was running marathons, if you can believe it. But that's
what I'm saying. Like, TV gets in the way of that at some point, right?
Yeah, but I mean, that's
like
the
when
thing
there's this much good TV on, and you feel like you want to see all of the good stuff on TV. At some point, you can't. And how do you deal with that? You know, like, is that something where you just throw your hands up and say, okay, well, I need to pick my 1 or 2 shows?
Well, do you think
that I watch?
So one thing that I've been wondering is, do you think the golden era television is something that will have a finite beginning and ending? Do you think that there's going to be eventually where the idiotocracy or the RoboCopness of the world, and it'll be just, I'll buy that for $1 and Honey Wears My Pants and all this other, you know, do you think that eventually the light is winning? If we're going to put it in True Detective terms, is the light winning or is the darkness winning? Because one pessimistic way to look at this is eventually this, you know, this is going to be a phase of 10 years or so.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be a glut in the market where, you know, you have too many of the killings and not enough Mad Men's, and it's going to turn people off.
Or you just have so much that's executed at like a high enough level then like where do you even start?
But if that
That's
all
more my
goes
concern.
down, then you've got a stockpile of awesome stuff that you can, you know, feast on for years to come. If
Sure,
it never ends, then it's kind of like how I've always felt about reading. Like, you know, I remember Roger Ebert wrote an article like 10 years ago about what he considers a bare minimum for what a well-read person is. And I've read a lot of shit, and I've read some highfalutin shit because I was in like the accelerated English classes and all that stuff, and you just read literature for most of it. You don't learn to spell or grammar or anything like that, but you do read a lot of literature. And I'm like, shit, I've not made it through even half this stuff. And there is stuff being produced more and more every day. Like, you know, with self-publishing and all this stuff, it's like,
forget about it.
You know, and the same thing with movies and television. It's like, you're just never going to catch up. It's like a fire hose. You try to get as much as you can out of it and then move on. But yeah, like, you know, right now I just watch anything that's good. Eventually, I guess if it keeps continuing to get good, I'll start carving things out that I'm not personally interested in. Like, I think Sex and the City, or not Sex and the City, I think Masters of Sex is really fantastic. It did not hold my interest in the second season. So I just it kind of went by the wayside. But there'll come a day too when you just can't even, like, I really want to watch Transparent. It's on Amazon. Haven't got a chance to do it.
Sure.
I don't know.
I don't know. I see cycles in just about everything in life. And I think one of those, I think we're in an upcycle right now on TV. I imagine that people will eventually get fed up with the kind of veneer. I mean, there's definitely a veneer on TV right now. Like, you look at what HBO produced and what Amazon and Netflix are producing.
What do you mean by veneer?
They're really polished products, right?
Sure.
I feel like at some point people begin to, you know, kind of revolt against that. They say, you know what? I've seen so much of this shit, it no longer interests me. Now I want something different. And then you see the avant-garde stuff come back a little bit more. And you see, like, I don't know, just the deconstruction of TV in a different kind of way.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that this can go on forever at the rate it's accelerating and just have people be okay with it for forever. You know, they're just going to get tired of this kind of presentation.
Well, and the other thing, I guess, is that I'm starting to get this with movies where I feel like I've seen every fucking movie there is to be seen, and I'm getting more disappointed more often than not when I go to the box office because this is just a slightly different version of something I've already seen before.
Well, movies are kind of in a shit place right now.
You think so?
I think so. I mean,
I think the last 2 years is unarguable. Some of the best movies. I mean, consistently great. You know, you look at the 12 Oscar contenders, all that stuff. They're awesome, but they're also, I don't know, man. There's just I've often wondered that, like Roger Ebert. It's like, how does he get up to see Paul Blart Mall Cop? You know, how does he go drag himself to the theater and watch that shit?
Part Blart,
2. Well, he died before. He was spared.
I know.
Good Lord took him before it came down to Paul Blart
sees
2.
The dystopia that's happened.
Or the latest Adam Sandler atrocity, which is he is fucking Wreck-It Ralph, essentially. He's fucking the corpse of Wreck-It Ralph in his latest thing of his. But you know, it's like, I always thought it was interesting that anytime he would see something like really arty, I felt like he would bump it up a star and a half. Because it was just a new experience. You could tell that he was just genuinely charmed by having, like, I felt something I've never felt in the movie. And it seemed like that became rarer and rarer the older he got and the more life experience he had and the more stuff he watched. I feel like that's kind of like just weird. One of the reasons old people tend to be cranky is because they've seen and done everything.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And I'm getting a lot of gray.
I can feel myself getting there. Yeah. When it comes to TV, video games, whatever. It's like, yep, more of the same. I don't know. I feel like movies are in a glut because, like, action movies have kind of taken over. Like, anytime you see this, like a movie that's talked about a whole lot, it seems to be a fucking action movie. Like, Michael Bay stepped in and directed the latest Transformers, or, like, you know, the fucking Avengers.
The thing that's making all the movie are these, you know, like the Avengers, Fast and Furious, all that stuff.
Yeah, I like Fast and Furious, but it's not a film.
Yeah,
it's a movie.
Yeah,
there's a big difference there, and movies aren't really designed to make you think anymore at all. I like those movies which, you know, make you question who you are and why you are the way you are, and if that's a good or bad thing.
Right.
Transformers 4 doesn't do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Dark of the Moon had nothing in it. I never saw Dark.
Right.
Because it's a piece of shit, and I could tell by the trailers.
Right.
I don't know. I think TV has started to step up its game so much that movies are becoming irrelevant to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I enjoy the more I wouldn't say like plotting pace. I don't like anything that's plotting, but I like something that takes its time a little bit more.
Sure.
Than a movie can,
right?
Because it only has 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that if you're just talking about the stuff that's like Oscar contending, I don't think you can. That's like a different category of film than what we're talking about with Avengers and stuff like that. Although I think it's also interesting to note what's going on with Marvel right now. And like they've got this cinematic apocalypse, that they've got this billion and billion dollar movie franchise that's going to be threatened by, you know, Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, et cetera, just not wanting to do this stuff anymore. And what do they do when that's, are they going to be, are people watching stuff because they think Iron Man is cool and Robert Downey Jr. is cool, or because comic book movies are cool? I would submit it's more the former. Like, it's hard to take Robert Downey Jr. out of the iron suit and it be as compelling and interesting. But
yeah, I mean, I'm sure they can find somebody to replace him, but I think it needs a break. Like, I don't think they can go directly from Robert Downey Jr. to, oh, some new guy in a suit.
No, but that's what I think that's what their plan is. Their plan is to just continue.
We're just going to make Iron Man 4 and have it be.
I mean, I don't know that, but they definitely still have this big, like, you know, we're 11 movies in, we're halfway through a planned, I think, 20 movie arc.
Okay.
And then what? I mean, I think it's going to be interesting in 3 to 4 years to see what Marvel Cinematic Universe looks like, especially when you see they're full steam ahead with this Daredevil shit and this Defenders of Justice or whatever. I don't know if you're aware of this, but like all these Netflix comic book character things are going to come together into some kind of mini Avengers group as well. And I'm kind of skeptical about all that.
It seems like oversaturation to me. I can't imagine that it can continue at the fervor which it had.
Sure.
I think even diehard comic book fans are starting to go, these are good movies, but I've seen enough kind of thing.
I mean, I took my kid to see Avengers. I thought it was a great time. But I was starting to think that, and I never thought about it because it was such a novel experience to have great comic book movies. Like, now it's
you're used to the Spider-Man and the Hulk from the 70s.
Sure. And even the shittiest one like Thor 2 or the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, is still so much better than any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Shall we take some comments and questions from people?
Do it. I'm sure there are a shitload.
All right. Let me get
Freddie's going mad over there.
There's some kind of visual thing going on.
Visual
Hover
anomaly.
your mouse in the wrong place in this hangout and bam. He says, you guys have got to pick characters to mimic for the interview. Might I suggest Pete Campbell and Boyd Crowder? I can't do I don't got a good Pete. Can you do Pete? I might be able to pick a Boyd.
How do you do Pete? I would have to like
a lot of Jiminy Christmases.
Shave up here.
You'd have to shave. You'd have to you know, get an inch or two up in that hairline.
Yeah. I don't know if I can do it.
Hell's Bells. A lot of Jiminy Christmas and Hell's Bells. Yeah. Yeah. We need stairs in the studio to pull that off. I already talked to the guy over the phone, so it'd be really funny. It'd be really funny to bust out the Boyd Crowder,
or just an accent,
you know, an English like accent,
any kind of accent.
Sure.
Oh, I talked to you on the phone. I did not remember you having an accent.
What if we did it? I do Rick Grimes and you do Daryl Dixon.
All right. Can I put up like a paper mask and talk through it and cut out the mouth?
Whatever, man. It's your dime.
Okay.
I think that's the more we do shit like that, the more we guarantee we'll be like on a primetime spot.
It's true.
So
the lunatics of Cincinnati.
We're not bleeding. We got to find some way to lead, man. Let's see. Let me go to Spencer Hockenberry.
Spencer Hockenberry.
Sounds like what I do every morning at the sink when I'm clearing my throat. Don't be too upset, Spencer, because my last name rhymes with jerk off. So imagine the next generation of avid TV watchers. In 20 years, there'll be a ridiculous amount of shows worth watching that have already been aired. I feel like we're almost lucky that TV in the 90s and earlier aren't worth trying to catch up on. I mean, he's not wrong.
Sure. No, he's right.
But it's like, if you are a cinemaphile, so you have to sit down eventually and put in the hundreds of hours to steep yourself in what came before, even when it's not all that entertaining or rewarding in an objective, like modern sense of the word. So I think, like, you know, budding TV watchers that are being born right now are going to have to eventually and that's the thing. Like with movies, it's hundreds and maybe you could probably watch everything worth watching or be remarkably well watched with like 1,000 hours of input, which is doable over a 5-year time, right?
Oh, easily, yeah.
Television, like watching Lost or X-Files is a 70, 80, 100-hour commitment all by itself.
Yeah, if you take, I don't know, I mean, take the great TV made in the last
Sopranos
5 years.
is 70 episodes,
It's
right? Breaking
300,
Bad,
400,
70
500
episodes.
hours.
Yeah, yeah. You might have 1,000 hours of stuff that's mandatory watching just in the last decade. So it's going to be tough.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that gets to the crux of the problem. There's just too much good stuff.
See, I see. We had this business model that we thought about doing called Pop Culture College, where we would actually take a season of television and boil it down into like the most essential 3 to 5 minutes. And you could like just package up the seasons like that. So it'd be useful for people trying to remember what the hell is going on. It'd be useful for people that are wanting to jump in on season 5 of something because it's got a bunch of buzz. But I wonder if that's going to be a cottage industry in the future where people, you know, like a Cliff's Notes version, because it is so hard to
I think it is already. I mean, the blogs out there, they're doing just, you know, straight up recaps of shows. Those are out there if you want to find them and just read line for line what happened in the episode.
Right.
I don't know. Doing it in another format is interesting, but it's kind of already being done.
I also wonder if maybe shows will start doing that themselves, like Fox, ABC, AMC will have on their line like a refresher for all this, so you know people can jump in, you know, because it's getting to point. It's like Netflix is all well and good, but there's some people just don't have. I don't got the 70 hours I need to watch the previous 7.5 seasons of Mad Men before I jump in for the final 7. So I need someone to pitch me the highlights.
I wonder if you could just watch the previously ons.
For Mad Men? Fuck no.
No, not for Mad Men. That's the exception.
Yeah.
But for most shows, I wonder if you could just go through, watch the previously ons and be mostly educated on the show.
I don't know. Some shows, like my girlfriend had no trouble jumping in at season 5 of Justified. But that's one of those shows where, like,
but I would argue that she missed a lot.
She missed a lot of nuance.
I mean,
and depth, but you get who Raylan is and who Boyd is, like within 5 minutes of meeting them, and that's in a way that is totally not like try to think if you just started watching last week's Mad Men episode, and you've got like this incredibly depressing sexual harassment suit, and then you got a roller rink Phantom of the Opera routine with Roger and Peggy. It'd be like, what the an octopus porn? Like, what the fuck? You'd have the only way that makes any sense is the shared history you have with the characters.
Sure.
All right. Let's move it on along. David J said, I would like to see a back channel chat room for Bald Move used during live recordings and even in-show chat. No reason not to also run 24/7 for the community to hang out.
Darknet on Bald Move.
We've actually demoed some technology that we've not been able to get working right to our satisfaction.
Yeah, it works. It's just real ugly.
It's kind of shitty and doesn't. So that's the end goal for all this live stuff, is to have something interacting to where you can get involved in a way that you can't at present. So my only concern is, I
don't want it to take away from what we're doing, which is the podcast. You know, if we have another thing, I mean, it's only 2 dudes. We don't have like a producer or anything.
Sure.
So if we get involved in a chat room discussion and then I throw a question to A.Ron and he hasn't even heard the fucking question that I've asked him, that's going to be bad for the podcast.
Yeah, I was worried too about
like
just people behaving properly as well and not being assholes, because I don't want, like, you know, like this week's or last week's Game of Thrones, you know, I made or was it this week? I'm confused because of the way we recorded them. You know, I made an offhand comment about like the dudes get screwed, or the gay dudes and the women get screwed over because there's not as much dong as there is full frontal female nudity. And I got 3 emails calling me a fag. Wow. That shit breaks out in the chat. That would not be cool. That would not be cool. So like on the forums, we have like a small team of moderators that they're essentially, their whole job is to like be the cooler from Roadhouse. Like if something like that is just beyond the pale, if someone starts dropping in bombs or starts making people feel unsafe, they can get them out of there. because I was even uncomfortable having a 24/7 public forum that I just couldn't keep an eye on. And as I don't trust like bald move fans, but you just got like, Game of Thrones, we got 50, 60,000 people, and some of them are just for the first time, and some of them are assholes. Hate to tell you. So that's the other concern I have, that I would want the feature that at least a person can mute somebody that they don't want to hear is just being an asshole, because it's the internet and fucking people are terrible.
Yep.
But we're working on that, David. Moving on to Danny H. Let's see. With Mad Men and Justified shutting down this year, would you ever consider doing a Daredevil podcast? The first series proved to be a strong show and not just the usual comic book rubbish we see on network television. It's Gotham made by AMC. I think it's much better than Gotham. More successful than Gotham.
It's certainly made by, or much better than Gotham, yeah.
So I don't know. Would you be willing? I would be willing to do a Daredevil podcast. I really like season 1.
Probably do a half-ass podcast. I don't know that I'd do a full recap and all that stuff.
Okay.
Because there were points that I wanted to talk about, and we mostly did in a lunch with Jim and A.Ron. Was it a lunch with Jim and A.Ron that we talked about Daredevil? I think it was. We mostly talked about him, and I don't know that I would have, hours and hours and hours of stuff to talk about with Daredevil.
Yeah.
But
it is weird because, like, the pleasure of Daredevil, and to that matter for me, Game of Thrones, is much different than the pleasure of Mad Men, because the pleasure of Daredevil is I know roughly this character and what he's doing and how he relates to other characters. It's just watching it executed very well. That's interesting to me. Same with Game of Thrones. Whereas it's different from Mad Men, where you don't know what's going on, and there's a lot of deep meaning and stuff like that. Typically we've shied away from action and comedy because they're hard. I mean, you can make fun of it, like 24.
Those are
but even
like
Justified, which is a fairly meaty action cast, can devolve too easily into, it was really cool when Raylan did that cool thing or said that cool thing. So
I wonder if there's some capacity where we could use Live Watch with a 5-minute instant cast at the end. That would be interesting.
That would be kind of an interesting format, because we
make
also
fun of it through most of the way.
Yeah.
But then at the end, take a moment and say, was there anything good in that? Was there anything bad?
Sure.
What'd you like? What didn't you like?
Sure.
Just real short though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Some third screen, second screen entertainment.
Yeah.
Let's see. Some of these are out of order, it looks like, but we'll figure it out. Danny H.
I'm not sure what the it is in this question.
It also has episodes that do so much. I think he's talking about Daredevil. It's great dark humor running throughout, as well as the weird trippy stuff that stays with you for a long time. I think he's talking about that. No, I think he's talking about 6 Feet Under. So I'll go ahead and bring that up as well. In a previous cast or lunch, you mentioned 6 Feet Under and how you had both never seen it. It's an incredible show that's in the same sort of style as Mad Men, with the way it slowly develops character-based plot. And then he talks about how it's got dark humor and trippy stuff. Here's the thing. I want to be honest. I have no desire to see 6 Feet Under. And it's nothing about, I've heard nothing but excellent things about it.
Then why?
It's a bunch of undertakers set in a mortuary. And I don't care. Like, I didn't care about Mad Men either.
Kind of like I don't give a shit about cop dramas anymore.
It's like
you tell me you're making a cop drama, I say good luck.
Mad Men had the hook of being set in the 60s and having just visually stunning sets and beautiful people that had magnetic personalities that I got drawn in almost immediately. I just, like Dexter, I watched a season of Dexter. I never want to fucking watch Dexter again. It's just not for me. I'm not saying it's a bad show. I'm not saying you're a bad person if you like it. I just don't like rooting for a serial killer. I don't give a shit about the...
But you'll root for a meth dealer. No problem.
I was... Hey, man, I don't have to justify my shit to you. No, I mean, it's not... It's just... Yeah, I could get in a man frustrated with wasting his life's attempt to save his family that didn't get subverted over the years. Yes, I can.
And to make the most of his last moment.
I can't identify with the sociopath. I just can't.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the niche stuff that you were talking about earlier, right? The TV is getting more and more nichey,
right?
And as it does that, like, there are going to be a lot of shows that you're just not interested in because the subject matter is not interesting.
It's the same thing.
And that's
with
a
Americans.
big reason why I watched *Halt and Catch Fire*, is because that subject matter was super interesting.
I just thought it was a terrible television show. So
terrible. There are terrible TV shows out there, of which *Halt and Catch Fire* is not one.
Hey, if you
I didn't have to wait that. This is a chance for me to shit on something you're passionate about.
Right.
No, Halt and Catch Fire is the worst. It is the worst. It's got the worst pants.
It's
got the worst wigs.
It had a few rough episodes to start.
Terrible.
There is far worse TV out there. Far worse.
Terrible. I saw that guy naked with blue skin on Guardians of the Galaxy. I can't take him seriously as a Steve Jobs.
Naked with I never saw Guardians of the Galaxy. So whatever.
Anyway, yeah. So there, I'm just going to be honest. I have zero, like, if I get caught up on, and same thing, I couldn't make it through Oz. Oz was a production value thing. Like, I could tell it was good, and I could tell it was good for the day.
You could tell it was made in the day.
It didn't age very well for me. But, you know, like Deadwood, I'm going to finish. Sopranos, I'm going to finish. I've seen enough of it to
like
know.
That for me. Like, obviously made back in the day.
Right. But I've seen enough that I know that I'll like it. But there's some of these things like 6 Feet Under, I just gotta say, like, I'm just never going to watch it. I mean, maybe if I'm 100% caught up one day, I'll give it a try, because I hate when people summarily dismiss things out of hand, Jim Jones. But no, I just don't have any interest to start.
Yeah, you'll never be caught up though.
Yeah,
that's the point. I mean, this whole conversation is to say you will never catch up. It is impossible. How do you pick?
Dan G said, did the Hodor dong not offend listeners' sexual sensibilities, or Hodor or dongs not gay? I would say that's the thing, man.
Because the man himself is gay.
Penises aren't gay.
No, penises.
Neither are vaginas and boobs heterosexual. Like,
especially if you're
these
a woman,
guys calling me fag because I was saying I don't think it's fair that the women don't get the full frontal nudity that the men do, or the gay men. Like, what do they do?
To me.
What do they do at a beach? All these bare male nipples floating around. Like, how did they not? It's like, are they confused?
God forbid they go to a European beach.
Yeah, where it's like you got women nipples and man nipples. Which one do I? It's like
and dudes in Speedos, and oh god, you're seeing more dong than you've ever seen in your life.
About a dozen people pointing out that I guess the guy who plays Alf,
what
is his name? Alfie Allen or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
His floppy wiener is out there in season 2.
It's true.
I didn't remember it. Do you know why?
Because it doesn't matter.
It didn't matter to me. So,
I know.
So it's like, get the fuck out of here with that shit, man.
Yeah. It's
nudity
silly.
Is not, it can be sexualized, but it doesn't have to be a hetero homo thing. It's like, I'm just saying equal dongs for equal vag or whatever.
Yeah, those male genitalia were not sexualized in Game of Thrones.
No.
Not one bit. Unlike the women, who definitely are.
Right.
For the most part.
Sure.
There have been some non-sexualized female anatomies, but yeah, for the most part, they don't do that with men.
Sure. Who gets to be Harry Crane? Apparently, this is the interview. I don't know. I need another dozen sack of White Castles to get. I'm almost a Harry Crane, but not quite there.
No.
Let's see. Danny 8 said mostly it's a philosophical reflection on life and death and how we spend our whole lives trying. This is 6 Feet Under.
Point.
It's a philosophical reflection on life and death and how we spend our whole lives trying to come to terms with our eventual demise. If you ever have a slow season, you should definitely cover it. Sorry for the disconnect the way this came out. Hey, man, that's Lunch with Jim and A.Ron.
This has been my life for the last week. Looking at like the consequences of how you spend your time and its meaning and effect on your life and personality. My God,
station agent fucked you up, didn't it?
It did. It totally did.
I just now made the connection.
I watched it on Wednesday, and I'm seeing everything differently.
I just made it. You think your whole life is about watching trains, and
that's exactly right.
And you're ready to stand up on a bar stool and say, "Look at me! I'm right here." By the way, if you don't know what we're talking about, Station Agent is a commissioned podcast.
Stay tuned. Yeah.
Featuring the great Peter Dinklage.
Yep. Should be out on Monday.
Yeah, and we're gonna record it this afternoon. It's really fantastic, but it's also clearly fucked my partner up. It's got him questioning the meaning of life here, man.
I'm wondering what I'm doing with my days.
Well, speaking of that, we need to get off to record that. We got a couple other projects to polish off. Low this day is over. Thanks once again for joining us. Thanks for supporting us. You guys are what allow us to have these crises of
actually what forces us to have these crises.
What forces us to have these crises of conscious and I don't know what you would call it. Lifestyle crisis.
Yeah, reassessing your whole life.
So there you go. We will see you guys next week, and have a great weekend, everybody.
See you.